Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending our council meeting. Ms. Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Anna Richards.
Here.
Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Here.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. Captain Ed, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate. Okay. Any requests for deletions or additions? Steve? Anna? Deb? No. Don?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So at this time, staff would like to request that we continue, I believe it's tab A, the major conditional use on boat sales for Boaters World. We received a new plan late Tuesday evening, and staff has not had time to review that plan and would like additional time to review that, so we'd ask for a continuation at this time.
Well, can I chime in here and say that the lawyer for boaters is here, and we want to look at the first plan that was okay, and they have 6 conditions that they have agreed to do. So if we could put that plan up and just talk about what they're willing to do for the community next door. That way, when they can submit the new version with the requirements that they're willing to do. Is that agreeable with you?
So I guess my question to council, without getting too into, because it is a quasi-judicial and I don't want to breach any of those rules, but my concern would be that if an approval is made this evening, the approved plan would not be attached to the resolution because we don't have a copy of the actual plan. The plan that was submitted says things like lighting to be determined, stormwater to be determined, and those things need to be reviewed and approved by planning.
100%, but can we let the lawyer come up for them, look at the old plan, and so the council is versed?
The council can do whatever it likes.
Well,
I'm just giving you
we want
staff's
to work with you,
recommendation.
not overpower anybody. So if he can come up, the gentleman, show the first plan that you guys are okay with, and just point out where he wants to make the changes to help the people in the neighborhood feel better about it. Then they'll submit another site plan for your approval and to go through it. Is that okay with you?
It's up to your fellow council members.
So John, what do we do from here? If it's up to everybody else. Now, I'm only one of 5.
Yeah, there's a request of staff to continue it, so that is, it gets kicked over to the council. It's council's discretion as to whether to continue.
But when we talked today, you thought there wasn't going to be a problem. That's why I brought this poor gentleman in here.
If they're proceeding under the site plan that was analyzed, because from the legal side, part of the consideration is we need to make sure there's competent, substantial evidence in the record for whatever decision it is that the council takes.
Got it.
And so if they're proceeding under the original site plan that we were talking about, then staff has analyzed that. So there is evidence in the record that you all could consider for an approval or a denial. So yeah, if they're proceeding under the original one, then from the legal end, it's not an issue. But
the gentleman is coming.
But if he's going to speak, we should probably move this, wait until the agenda item, because since it's quasi-judicial, people need to be sworn in.
So let's do it this way. If you guys are all okay to let the gentleman speak when we get to that area.
Yeah, we can deal with it when we get to that section. That way,
Is that
we
okay
make
with you,
sure.
Steve? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Are we okay with that? Deb, you got your mic on.
I do have my mic on.
I know you do.
Okay. So I would prefer not to hear it, because to hear it and then have to rehear it again, and I did not prepare when I found out that we would be tabling it or extending it, or whatever the proper term is. I didn't finish preparing for the agenda item tonight.
Okay, Don?
I just don't want to have to go through a quasi-judicial hearing twice. If he wants to speak during public comment and tell us that they've worked everything out, but are we working off this site plan, or are we working off of a different site plan? That I'm not sure of, and if we're working off a different, then I think we need to have a full hearing and do it the way we'd normally do it, not kind of halfway. But I'm okay either way.
And Anna?
I'm kind of gonna agree with Dawn that I don't care if he gets up and talks, but we can't approve anything without having staff's.
I don't think he's looking for approval. I think he just wants you guys to know the changes, that's all. Steve,
Yeah, I agree with Don. I think at public comment, he could probably.
are you okay with that?
We're here to serve you, so
Thank you.
at the appropriate time, we'll speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Jennifer, anything else?
So wait a minute, what are we doing?
He's gonna
During
spit-
public comment.
Yeah, we're going to wait to address it because I didn't want to, if he gets into any of the substance and he was unsworn, then I didn't want to tread into those waters.
Okay. Okay, so now I guess we move to reports, presentations, and announcements. That'll be Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to give the council an update on the work that Able City East is doing for us on our comprehensive plan update. It's been a while since they were in town for their week-long charrette that I think everybody took part in and really had a good time participating in. So I just wanted to let everybody know that they have first drafts on nearly every element of the comprehensive plan. They're still waiting on some information from their economic development consultant that's working with us. They are done some renderings. They're waiting on to do some new ones. Everything appears to be on track. They are not estimating any delays. They're estimating that everything is about 75% of the way towards producing a draft for us, which we should see by the end of the summer. So that's their latest update that I received about a week ago. So that's where they are in their work. I also just wanted to note for the council that I did speak with them about SB 180 and the potential for conflict with that if the governor were to sign that bill, and they are aware of SB 180. They've reviewed it thoroughly, and they are working with a Miami-based land use attorney and running any potential changes through him or her, I don't know if it's him or her, to determine whether or not there might be some conflicts there. So they are well versed and well aware of SB 180. So we can have some level of comfort that they are taking that into consideration as well.
Anybody have any questions for Jennifer? No?
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ron, do you want me to go or you to go about freebie?
I can do a presentation and then have discussion. I want to give a little bit of why we're here today on it.
Okay.
Back in June of last year, 2024, the Village of Almirada entered into an agreement with Be Free LLC, which is a limited liability company doing business as Freebie. So that's what everybody knows as Freebie. The term of the agreement was commencing on July 1, 2024, continues for 12 months. So we're under the current agreement until June 30th of this month. Section 10-04 says the term of this agreement may be extended upon mutual written agreement of contractor, meaning Freebie, and the village for 2 additional terms, subject to approval by the village council. So what I'm asking for tonight is a direction. If you want to continue with Freebie, we would require a motion to approve the extension. Otherwise, it'll expire on June 30th.
So everybody understands, because I've gotten the phone calls, we all have, I've seen Facebook, and let me explain to you so you guys can listen what's happening. In 2023, Monroe County hired a gentleman by the name of Richard Clark. He is the transportation director for Monroe County for all the keys. His job is to come in and fix the transit situation from Key West to the top of the stretch, so we're all connected. We really don't have much say in that. They're going to do it. So July 1st, 2026, Monroe County is going to take over our transportation. It's going to be called Conk Connect. Right now, we're operating down in Key West. It's $2 door to door per ride, and the plan is I talked to him this afternoon, he doesn't anticipate the fee going up, but Freebie is gone as of July 1st, 2026. It's a done deal with the county. Right now, what this council, and again, it's not just me, as everybody says on Facebook, there's 5 of us, if we want to continue freebie from between July 1st of 2025 and July 1st of 2026, it'll be $276,000 that the taxpayers will pay to continue this service. So right now, the only thing this council is voting on is for this next year, and then in 2026, freebie is gone and Connect takes over. And by the way, he's going to have vans, he's going to have some buses, maybe a trolley system, and he's even talking about down the road a ferry system between every town, which would be pretty cool. So this is what the freebie situation is. So Ron, do we want to have public comment first, or do we want to talk? John, is there any direction I need?
Yeah, if there's going to be a motion, then we would definitely need public comment, so I would recommend it now. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Marnie?
Okay, we will start with Michelle Montaigne.
She's the one who wrote about me on Facebook, I heard.
I copied something and pasted it.
That's fine, I don't
Just
care.
copied and pasted it.
I don't care.
My name's Michelle Montaigne. I've been an Almirada resident for almost 30 years. I don't take offense to that. I'm just very supportive of freebie. I've raised my 2 kids here. I was a single mom. I had a business, and I had no problems living here in the Keys financially. Unfortunately, my situation changed, and it costs a lot now being what do I want to say? Not owning a business here in the Keys. I do work for 2 different establishments. I use freebie, let's put it this way, what I pay for now in my studio apartment was my mortgage in Plantation Lake Estates. So needless to say, the cost of living here in the Keys, as we all know, is very expensive. I personally, and I don't mind sharing this, cannot afford a car down here. I use freebie to go to and from work. I use it for the grocery store. I use it for doctor's appointments. I use it for the gym. It drops me off at Mariners. I'll walk to Froggy's. If freebie ends this year, and I guess what I'm trying to point out is that the workers that use freebie, just this year, people are going to not be able to work down here. They're going to lose their transportation, and I don't think they realize how this community is so dependent on it. Am I 3 minutes up already?
No, you're good. You're good.
It'll
I'll let you
buzz.
know. I'll let you know. You're good. Go on.
So like I said, I'm so, okay, I was a little upset about it. So like I said, don't take offense to that. I didn't mean to do any bashing. I'm just trying to support freebie.
It's fine.
And I have a very loud opinion. But it means a lot to me. It really does. I can't, the drivers are awesome. You always make sure you tip well. I think that if we can just get through this next year and support it, then when this new transportation comes into effect, fantastic. But during this year, I'm afraid you're going to lose a lot of the workers that are using freebie. I mean, and that's just
Appreciate it.
my opinion. Take what you want and leave the rest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Marnie, who's next, please?
Next, we have Anna.
Okay. Ooh, that's me.
How are you doing? I didn't know it was going to be on TV.
Let's make a deal.
My name is Anna Rodriguez. I am one of the freebie employee. I've been with freebie. It's going to be a year next month. Freebie is a great company. I love the people in Alamorada, just like they love every single driver that we have. Every single driver we have knows exactly how much they need freebie, because we hear it from them. We hear the good and we hear the bad. And every single driver can tell you that the words that come out of their mouth is, this is a great service the island has, you know? And for us to lose freebie, that would just chatter a lot of people, because especially the elderly that we take to Publix, doctor's appointment, wheelchair people that we take everywhere they need to go, you know? It's not just the tourists. Tourists are awesome. But I deal more with a day-to-day basis, like taking them to work. I work morning shift, and I pick up a lot of regulars every single morning, you know, and I know where they live, I know where they work, at what time they go in. So we get it's like a family, you know. And freebie is very much needed in this island, in the Islamorada, very much. And I know that because I know a lot of the elderly that cannot and do not have a car and cannot move around. Doctor's appointment, very important to them, you know, and that's what we're here for. We're here to make their life better, you know, and it's very important to the island, and we need that chance. We need that one more year with the island. I would love it. I love my job. I really do. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, leave my house at 5:30. I live in Key Largo, you know, and I drive happy. I love my job. My coworkers can tell you I'm a happy person. They can tell you. Her, this lady right here, I've taken her when she couldn't walk to appointment, doctor's appointment, every single time. She can vouch for me. Freebie has been there for her and everybody else that's out there waiting on us, you know? And if you guys are more than welcome to experience just one day, 1 hour with us on the busy hour, and you see that it's not what you think it is. We're not laying around, sleeping, no. We're moving, okay? And Freebie is just a great company to work for. It really is. I love my job. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Well, Freebie actually has a contract for ConConnect, so the company is staying, they're just changing to, it's going to be a
Right.
$2 fee
Right,
to
but
ride.
are we gonna have that one more year
Well,
with Freebie?
That's what we're deciding tonight, and I will tell you that by $2 a ride, the company with the grants can sustain itself, and so there's no impact on the taxpayers, which is a wonderful thing. So it's a win-win to do it this way, and again, I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Marnie?
Next is Deborah Kosman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Kosman, and I've lived here since the late mid-'70s. And I live alone. I'm widowed twice, and I had some different medical problems, a hip replacement that got infected, and then a year later, I woke up paralyzed, you know, so I couldn't drive. I mean, I was, you know, and these guys took me back and forth to different things I needed, to the grocery store. I was at the Oasis for 3 weeks at the old folks home, and I needed some real food, so they'd take me to Publix and to my house so I could take a shower and then pick me back up. And also, I've lived here, I was a bartender here in the 70s, in between husbands, and I live right in the heart of town. Now, when I first moved to the Keys, the Whistle Stop wasn't there. And there was a barrel house in the Whistle Stop. Now I live on the Bay Side. I live behind the Red Caboose. Okay? Now, as a bartender, when I worked at the Dead Animal Bar, I could tell them to go sleep in my truck. I'd give them a ride home because all the locals came in. But now I'm retired. Anyway, so living in Margarita too, you'd hear sirens. I mean, Woody's now is closed, but now the people from Chica can take Freebie. They can go to Ziggy Mad Dog and not have to worry about having too many to drink and coming down the road and passing and killing one of my friends that are coming home from work. So that's one of the reasons I really respect Freebie also. And not counting besides the thing, I mean, they're helping. I know so many people that if we did not have Freebie, they could not make it to work. I'm talking for myself, what I need, you know, I own my own home, you know, and I've lived a great life down here. But some of these people, I didn't have a car, but I couldn't drive. Now I have a car, and I've not, you know, praise, you know, knock on wood here. I'm fortunate enough that I've gotten my legs back. I still have problems and just still have things to work out, but I'm healthy enough to walk and drive. But if anything goes wrong, it's nice knowing that you can call Freebie and get to the grocery store. You know, you may even help carry my groceries up to my thing. But, and let's see what else. You know, the help for the elderly, you know, or people that are alone. And also as an ex-bartender, knowing what condition I see people, and I stop drinking, and I see how people drive down this road. And trust me, I see it all the time. And having Freebie be here for us, for our safety, your children's safety, your grandchildren's safety, you know, please, you know, let Freebie stay here until the other chance, just keep the even curve going, because Islamorada, especially, as much as it's grown in the years I've been here, I mean, it's just grown tremendously, and we really need that service for our workers and for our families.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Marnie?
Next is Catherine Caputo.
Hi, my name is Kathy Caputo, and I've lived down here for more than 50 years. And I would urge you to please continue the Freebie for the interim until the new system takes over. I agree with the things that have already been mentioned. And additionally, I know a number of young people who use the service, not just because they plan to go out drinking for the evening, but sometimes because of limited parking. like going down to Islamorada for the Art Walk, different situations where it's really difficult to find any parking. That alleviates the difficulty. And it's also just a great asset for our community to know that that service is available. And I just beg you to please continue it for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Barney?
Next is Dr. Harold Dalton.
Good evening, Council. On Tuesday night, I spoke about the legal and public health impacts of freebie. Today, I want to remind the Council that while the Council has a very special obligation to the taxpayers of the village, they also have an obligation to the residents and voters who may not be taxpayers. They may not pay into the system, but they may be renters, they may live on boats, but they use the system as much as other people do. So please, while the taxpayers and the homeowners pay for this, I think it is such a huge benefit to our village as a whole. I ask you to keep this ongoing for everybody in this community.
Thank you. Marnie?
Next is Joe Wishmeyer.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. I know a lot of my neighbors use a freebie. I think it's a great service for the residents of Islamorada, and I think it would be a great thing to keep around. My only problem is when I see all these hotels that are making more money than God, and they're using the service and taking time away from the residents who really need it and really are the ones that are paying for it. So while I urge you to keep it, I also would urge you to look into if there's some way to sell passes to some of these hotels. Do something to help offset the cost to the taxpayer. That would certainly go a long ways towards changing a lot of people's minds about keeping it and making it more accessible to the residents of Islamorada. Thank you.
Hey, Joe, we've already done that the hotels will be buying vouchers for when they start in 2026. And so the hotels will be paying for their guests. So we've already thought of that, but thank you very much. Well, there's nothing we can do now. We're a year out, you know what I mean? So, thank you. Marnie?
Next is Jack Butler.
The physical therapist who saw my knees.
Well, I didn't know it was going to be that soon.
Who saw my knees.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so Sharon may know this, but the freebie is actually quite important. And I agree with everything that everybody else has said, but it's more than that. I mean, it goes across the border to the hospital, to the doctor's offices, to the lab work that people need, to physical therapy. So we have a multitude of patients that come to physical therapy through freebie. And I think if we interrupt that service, that's going to have a major effect on a lot of the patients that end up trying to get to the hospital. People that can't get up and down their steps, they can't drive or whatever it is. I think it's an extremely important service to continue in that interim so that doesn't affect the people that need medical care at the Mariners Hospital. Simple as that.
Thank you. Thank you. Marnie?
There are no other speakers.
Okay. Public comment is now closed. Council, anybody have some comments? Wait a second here.
Yeah, however you want to.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for all of the communication on this, the text, the emails, the phone calls. To me, this is what it's all about, hearing from the people in what they want. And for me, I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on this. I'm very much in favor of it, I think for all the reasons that were already said, and I hope that this council is too.
John?
So I counted over, sorry for my voice, I'm still getting over a cold. I counted over 200 emails that I got, and I got 20 phone calls. The one that hit me the most was a young lady that I've known for a very long time and explained to me that she's a one-car family and, you know, she has kids in elementary school and high school, and her husband works and she works. And I just didn't realize how important Freebie was to the community. And those 200 emails to me were extremely important. I think I answered every one of them, and I'm 100% behind Freebie no matter what.
I think it's simple. The numbers speak for themselves, that it's being used quite well, and the community wants it, and the community should have it.
Well, everybody knows that I've been for this all along, and I could see that it was working. I will state that Freebie is anticipating upwards of 60,000 people to ride it this year. There was 46,000 last year. We'll go with their exact estimate is more like 58,000, so that's an increase of 12,000 people using Freebie in 1 year. Part of that is due to the extra cars that they put on the road. And with the more usage, it pulls the dollars down per car. There's estimates that a Freebie ride costs about $5 to do, and an Uber ride would be $25 to $30. So these people that are working, that are using it, and there is 55% of the residents using it to work, and not just to work, 55% of the residents using the service on a year-round basis. It fluctuates just like our business fluctuates, it's seasonal. I will also say that businesses are paying the taxes also. All businesses pay that same residential tax also. So the businesses, the hotels, the restaurants, all of those are already paying into that system of that. I think it's just a very important system. We have healthcare needs that our community is using. We've heard a couple of them tonight. We have DUIs. Last year, the Freebie heard from the Sheriff's Department that they could see a drop in the amount of DUIs when Freebie was available. And then we have the workers that we've had people tonight even tell us about. So, and if you said at the groceries, they're very frequent at the groceries. So we're providing a lot of service for people to get back and forth. I will be voting for this. I understand that it sounds like an expensive service, but there is a high need for it, and the higher the cost of living goes, the more we need a public transit system. I would have liked if the county could have taken over this July, but that didn't work. They can't do that. And to stop it for a year, we'll lose the drivers that are doing a good job driving things. We'll lose the ridership in the sense that some of those people will probably have to leave because they can't get back and forth. So I think it's important to the continuity. There's also the possibility, and nobody will know until FDOT says so, that if we give back a grant again, because we've done grant returns before, if we give back a grant, not on Freebie, but on other things, that FDOT had people waiting in line for the Freebie grant, and they granted us the money. There's other communities that desperately wanted it, the grant money that we received also. So I think we're privileged to have it. There is a possibility that it's maybe not a probability, but a possibility that FDOT would make Richard's job a little bit more difficult in getting grant money to help pay it going forward. So with that being said, I will not say any more right now. Thank you.
Okay. all I ever wanted from the start of this was to take the burden off the taxpayers, and we've got the system at $2, which will do that in the future. But for right now, I say we just make a motion to continue freebie for the next year.
Motion to approve.
I second.
Marnie, would you-
Just, it would be a motion to authorize the manager to enter into a extension, one-year extension pursuant to section 10.04 of the
Got it.
agreement.
Motion as read by Mr.
I second.
Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Steve Friedman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton,
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis,
Yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards,
Yes.
and Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you guys very much for coming.
May I have a second? I just wanted to thank everybody that came tonight, everybody that's watching at home, everybody that emailed us, everybody that called us. The community should be involved, and this is how you get what you want. Thank you.
I was proud of everybody that wrote those
Yeah, me
emails.
too.
It was awesome. Thanks.
It was
Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
Thank you.
Okay. John, Village and Manager Communication, please.
Yep. Village Manager Ron Saunders is going to discuss the proposed plan regarding the baseball field at Founders Park.
Go ahead.
Council members, this afternoon at 1 o'clock, I attended a design team meeting over at Coral Shores High School. There were representatives from the district, school district, from the contractor hired by the district, and AJ and myself representing the village. They came up with a preliminary design plan. That design plan is scheduled to go before the Monroe County School Board on June 24th. It's preliminary approval. They tell me that even if they approve what is being proposed, there'll be at least 4 more public meetings of the school board before anything ever happens. So that's on the school board side. I was requested on Tuesday to start the public input process on our end of it. We had already scheduled a workshop for the design plan for the master plan for Founders Park. Obviously, the baseball field is part of Founders Park. So what I'm going to do is have the workshop proceed. The consultants are going to come in and talk about the master plan overall. But then the second part of the meeting, we'll have the plan as taken up by the school board that day and bring it to the workshop for input from citizens of Islamorada. It's just input. There's no vote being taken. And so that'll be June 24th. So the school board will meet around the same time, truthfully. So people are probably going to go to both meetings. So they're going to go to school board. Let's say they approve the preliminary plan. Then we would have that plan in time for the meeting on the same night. Then that's just input. The next step would be on July 10th, the Village of Islamorada's Parks and Recreation Committee is meeting. We would then take that plan to the Parks and Rec Committee for their input also. So that's the kind of the tentative plan there. At that point, then the council would then decide whether to take it up for our approval. But right now, all the funding is coming from the school district. But this is a preliminary plan. This is not the final plan. There are some controversial items in there, which I want to bring up. Obviously, the big one is artificial turf versus grass. That is an ongoing debate, which all of us have already heard. That's going to come up at the school district. There's a question about whether a concession stand should or should not be in there. I've talked to some of you individually. There's also concerns about whether coaches need an office or locker room, et cetera. All those issues will be brought up on June 24th at the school board meeting because those are in the preliminary plan. Now, whether they stay there or not is going to be discussed there. But I think it's important for us to have our own separate public input the same night, and then moving forward, then go to Parks and Rec. The only conditions that I said was no trees get impacted, and that there's going to be mutual use of the ball field. Beyond that, the decisions are going to be between the school board and the village. We own the property, they're putting up the money. So it's a true partnership, and nothing's going to happen without both parties agreeing to the final plan. But you have to have a preliminary plan to get to a final. We're going to have Jennifer in our planning department and Sheila in our building department. They're going to have review. I sent the plan to them today. They're already taking a look at it. There's a lot more steps in the process, and I've been told that not a single shovel of dirt will be taking place until after the next baseball season. So nothing's going to happen until 2026 as far as anything actually happening on the site. But there's going to be a lot of planning, elevations, a lot more going into it before anything happens. But I want to make sure we're at the beginning of the process as far as the public input, and the first opportunity will be on June 24th right here for the master plan workshop for the park. Any questions?
No, but there are a lot of people who are against this that have reached out to me, so I'm encouraging anybody who cares about what's going to happen to please be here on the 24th, because there have been some other issues raised, there's been other things that could happen to make everybody happy, so if you're interested in the ballpark, please be here on the 24th. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Ron, can you just clarify at what point the interlocal agreement's going to be signed? Is that going to be after the finalized plan? Where is that going to fit in?
Well, there already was an interlocal agreement. The question is whether it's actually legally in effect, because it was never recorded with the clerk of the court.
It was my understanding they were going to do a new one.
Well, I think we're going to look at two different things. One is the interlocal agreement, which is basically moving forward. I think what people are really talking about is a baseball license agreement or a joint use agreement where it controls what actually uses are going in there and how we divvy it up as far as maintenance, things like that. The interlocal agreement is basically saying we're authorizing it moving forward, which we already are moving forward. I think the joint use agreement is really what we're going to have to focus on. That's the part that's not really finalized.
Anybody else? Deb?
I understand where Steve's coming from, because I didn't, and I've been involved early on with this. I didn't understand that there was actually two agreements. One's the ILA and then the licensing agreement. The ILA is done. It's the licensing agreement that we're working on.
Yeah,
That's the way I see it.
That's great. I think it's great that we're going to do this workshop on the 24th. I think that we need to really move on this. We're already way behind because we're dealing with various bureaucracies that need to go back and forth and have agreements. So hopefully everybody can be assured that that nothing the school district is going to do without our review and authorization first.
And that's real important, because it seems like they're just running rampant with this without even our input yet. So that's why the 24th is so important. So please be there. Yes, Ron?
And also, I mentioned today at the meeting that I will attend the school board meeting first, just on behalf of the village, so let's make sure they understand that we're partners and they're not going to be doing anything without our final approval. In other words, they're involved in the preliminary stuff, but in the end, it has to come to you for final approval. But I want to make sure everybody understands we are working together with the school district and that we're in constant communication. I can't control what happened in the past. There may have been issues, but going forward, we're going to be involved at every step. And I'll keep you informed, as I did today, of any changes or updates.
Don?
I'll just let you know I'm going to be out of country on the 24th, but I'll call you on the 25th for an update. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving on to general public comment, and this is something that is not a tab, and should we let Steve come up first?
No, we should do that during the quasi-judicial,
Oh, I
because
thought
then
we-
he'll be sworn in at that point.
Oh, I thought everybody said no.
We're just doing it on public comment. We're not doing it.
My concern, though, well, let's swear him in then, because
Okay.
my concern is
Well, then
that if he...
let's do regular public
Yeah,
comment.
we'll do general public
Okay.
comment, yeah.
Everybody stop. Okay, general public comment. Marnie?
First up is Captain Ed Davison.
For the record, I am Captain Ed Davidson, Florida Keys Citizens Coalition. I'm also a former elected school board member. I've lived among them. The Founders Nature Park ball field major re-engineering, it's not minor improvements, is a bulldozer implemented, seriously expanded proposal. It's a classic cart before the horse, wherein Islamorada is being strongly pressured into hurriedly approving a dramatically expanded school board exploitation of our taxpayers' nature park. This is a false urgency as a direct result of the Islamorada citizenry and most of several successive village boards having been kept almost entirely uninformed for the past 2.5 years, while 2 successive design-build bids were advertised, processed, and approved by the school board with virtually no consultations with the village council. The most recent contract was approved on the 11th of February 25 on the consent agenda with no school board discussion and no public comment allowed. For a $5 million project that the proponents think is a done deal. all despite a publicly declared intent to dramatically expand school system usage from weekday afternoons for a 19-week ball season to a 20-year, year-round, multi-program utilization, all based on an old permit, Ron, not accurate, that provably expired 3 years ago, leaving them with no obligatory entitlement to expansion on park property they do not own. The park is the plan is openly for bulldozer excavation of existing championship grass field, installation of an extensive buried drainage piping matrix, grading the entire field to drain northward, and covering it with plastic PFAS, forever chemical contaminated artificial turf. Such northward drainage will adversely impact dramatically expanded areas of our park that have been unaffected by previous part-time use. Exporting contaminated drainage towards the family beach, and headed offshore outstanding Florida waters of our park shoreline. This extensive drainage system will also environmentally degrade the root patterns of more than 100 native hammock trees by draining away the annual rainfall that they depend upon for survival. These are excerpts, since I doubt any of you have seen it, of the actual RFQ which the school board authorized for the whole site, off-site, beyond the outfield, bulldozer-installed drainage piping matrix. Quote, our team will improve the site's perimeter drainage collection and conveyance systems in addition to implementing the turf under-drain system. This drainage collection will be conveyed towards the outside of the site. ... More quotes. The baseball field itself will be graded from home plate towards center field. This will allow for stormwater, which means rain, to flow out and away. The school board authorized a design-build contract to do exactly this without informing the Islamorada taxpayers who own the park. It wasn't just a damp doodle on a bar napkin. It was the design-build funded contract without consulting. Mr. Manager? Thus, our new manager does not have the legal obligation he seems to think he has to bail them out by letting them basically do whatever they damn well please a few weeks' notice after the facts were finally exposed, some of the facts, not yet, even though much of this current wish list is contrary to many things they've intermittently promised not to do in the past and promised you not to do in the past. Even though many of the facilities proposed in their grandiose, overbuilt stadium could be easily available at Coral Shore School 5 to 10 minutes away. Sparing our family tree park the serious bulldozer-inflicted environmental damage and disruptions that the Islamorada taxpayer park owners have never actively agreed to because they haven't been briefed. And in fact, know little about. After all, the current ball team just won a regional championship by practicing and playing on the current field of God's green grass. What more do you need? Where's the turf need for all this environmental damage? And what's the hurry? And by the way, this, refresh yourselves in your spare time, what the whole park looks like. Here's the ball field right here. Drainage to the north goes, oh gosh, what's that? Our public beach where kids swim? Full of PFAS chemicals? Huh? That's a great idea. Lots more to this story. These impacts. I'm sure none of you have ever seen this original document, but it's there.
Thank you, Captain Ed. Appreciate that. Marnie, next.
Joe Wishmeyer.
Excuse me? I didn't get that. I'm sorry. Joe? Is that who's coming up? I couldn't hear. Oh, okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. We have building codes and LDRs for a reason. They are like laws. Everyone is aware of the rules before they buy, sell, or build on a property. Like a law, just because you don't like it doesn't mean you can just ignore it. Laws and codes are meant to be followed and enforced by all, including this council. It's very disappointing and disheartening to see the council disregard or change the codes. For example, at Creekside Inn, not zoned for workforce housing, so you just change the zoning to allow the TDRs to go to the already overcrowded Islander Resort. Or how about the SD Marine? I know they did apply for major conditional use when they were going to build buildings and restaurants, but I don't believe that they have reapplied since now it is a boat dealership. Now, also allowing a distillery to be built in a residential neighborhood within 300 feet of a church because of an unsigned, unsubstantiated letter. And now they want you to change the law again to accommodate one development because of their poor planning for parking. This council hired Able City East to redo the comp plan and LDRs, yet you continue to not follow the current ones or seek to change them. Later tonight, you will be asked to do the same thing again. Those who followed the rules now feel cheated because they actually followed the rules. These actions have got to stop and let Able City do their job and then follow the rules. I heard that they said that it'll be ready for the first draft even by the end of the summer, so what's the hurry? Developers should not run and control this village. Conservation and environment should be of main concern. Keep what's left of the Keys beautiful, and don't forget our mission statement to protect our quiet enjoyment of life as you were elected to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Marnie?
There's no one else signed up to speak.
Okay, public comment is now closed. John, I guess we're moving to the quasi-judicial?
Yep, so let me read the quasi-judicial statements, and then we can get to them. We're into the quasi-judicial section of this, which is Roman numeral 7 in the agenda. Please be advised the following agenda items are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on these items, please inform the village clerk by filling out the available sign-up form. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. As a reminder, testimony in quasi-judicial items must be in person. Zoom testimony is not permitted. These proceedings will be handled in accordance with the village code requirements. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony shall be disregarded. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record, along with the village code and comprehensive plan. Any correspondence that was received by village staff is included in the file and part of the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details on the quasi-judicial procedures in section 30-256 of the village code may be obtained from the village clerk. Tonight there are 4 quasi-judicial items, which are tabs A through D. At this time, I would like to ask anyone who intends to speak on the quasi-judicial items to please raise your hand to be sworn in by the clerk.
In the matter in which you are about to give testimony, do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Witnesses have been sworn.
Madam Mayor, first is tab A. It is a resolution stated as follows. A resolution of the Village Council of Isla Mirada Village of Islands, Florida, considering the request of Calusa SMI LLC for a major conditional use approval for a boat dealership as accessory use to the marina for the property located at 73501 Overseas Highway on Lower Matacumbe Key within the Tourist Commercial District with real estate number 00388620-000000 as legally described herein, providing for the transmittal of this resolution to the Florida Department of Commerce and providing for an effective date. Council, before we begin, I would like you to please disclose any ex parte communications that you may have had with the applicant or anyone else. Again, this is tab A, and please include whether the person represents any group or entity, as well as the subject matter as you best recall. Thank you.
Steve?
I spoke with, is this Steve?
Stephen Tilbrook, yes.
Yes, I spoke with him briefly about this on the phone, and at least one resident received some of the emails I think everybody received from residents.
Okay. Anna?
I'm the exact same as Steve here. I've spoken to him and a couple emails, that's it.
Deb?
I've spoken with Steve also, and we got a few emails, yes.
Don?
I believe it was Steve I spoke to. I did speak to an attorney, but they all seem to run together sometimes. And one of the people in the neighborhood, but I also had a question whenever it's appropriate.
Okay, and I talked to Steve and Robert Mosier, so that's all of us. And Don, you want to do your question real
Well,
quick?
the question was, are we proceeding with this quasi-judicial, or are we just here to have a little discussion? Because I don't want to have 2 quasi-judicial hearings on this, especially when other people in the community thought that it was going to be postponed.
And that ball is, because of the way our code reads, that ball is in the council's court. I know staff, and I'll let Jennifer speak, staff is requesting that it be continued, but the ultimate decision is council's.
I think I'd like to see the final outcome and everything be settled and something that can be discussed and approved, and that the planning director has reviewed whatever site plan and whatever conditions in total prior to it going through a complete formal quasi-judicial hearing. That's my thoughts.
I also would like to see a complete plan. If we're changing it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to review what we've got and then have to review it all again because things change. And I understand that it may only be conditional stuff, but there's got to be time to, I haven't seen that, and to be laid that in front of me tonight to vote on, I disapprove.
So John, can he at least talk about the changes and then that at least?
Or may I respond to the request for continuance?
Please
That's
do.
the only item that we're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
I'd limit it to that, because under our procedures, staff,
That's
for
fine.
substance, staff presents first and then the applicant.
That's
So
fine.
yeah, let's limit it to that.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Stephen Tilbrook with Ackerman Law Firm. I appreciate the ability to be here tonight. We are on the agenda. This has been duly noticed. Staff has reviewed a site plan. That is the item that's on the agenda. Staff is recommending in favor of the site plan. What happened is, in your staff report, there was no public comment. At the time of the report was submitted, there's full staff concurrence, staff recommendation in favor. Since the item has been advertised, and that's part of the process, you advertise the item, you reach out to the community, and you get feedback. We received feedback from the adjacent neighborhood and their council. We had a very productive meeting with Robert Mosier and his council, and Daniel Parabach was part of that meeting. He listened in, he participated in that meeting, he fielded questions. We, during that meeting and to follow up that meeting, agreed with the neighborhood to eliminate and reduce some of the uses at the site, in particular, the repair use. We agreed to remove that repair use from adjacent to the neighborhood, and that was 99% of the concern. So that is the condition that we're here offering tonight. It doesn't require any additional staff review or comment. I mean, what happened was, following that conversation with Robert Mosier, we added these conditions to a site plan, and as a courtesy, we shared it with Daniel Parabach on Tuesday. And we did that just to be transparent, as we thought the best way to document the conditions that we were offering. What happened was, the next day we got an email from staff saying that they felt it changed the site plan. We were not asking to change the site plan. There is only one site plan for this site. What we've done is we have offered and we're prepared to proffer tonight some elimination of uses at the site that makes it a better project for the community. We think it's fully vetted. We think it's ready for your consideration tonight. There's no changes to the site plan. The site plan is in our presentation that was submitted last week. That's the site plan, and we're prepared to make that presentation tonight. We have a whole team here, and we also want to make sure that this is properly vetted, separate from other applications at this site that may complicate things. And so we think this item is ready tonight. We've traveled here. We're prepared to make a presentation. Even after the presentation, if you haven't, and we've not made our presentation, after you've received our presentation, you can ask us. We're not quite ready. We would appreciate, the commission would appreciate a continuance of the item to answer any questions. We will gladly do that. But we think tonight your questions are going to be answered, and you're going to be prepared to vote on this item.
Madam Mayor, may I respond to that?
Of course.
The plan that we received at 10 p.m. on Tuesday evening is labeled revised site plan. So I'm not sure how he can say it's not a new site plan.
We're not offering that tonight. Okay, we are not offering that site plan. We've removed that site plan for condition, and we've reduced it to 6 items that we've shared with the mayor and with the staff that would be considered by the council to make this item complete tonight. It's very simple. It's not complicated, and we're here and prepared to make the presentation.
Go ahead, Don.
Well, given that, and all you're doing is making some agreements, but you're keeping everything exactly the way it's been presented to us. We've had many times where we've had conditional uses come in front of us, and the applicant would proffer some additional restrictions onto that. So given that, if we're using the same site plan, then I'm okay hearing it, the whole thing.
I'm okay hearing it too, but I'm only one of 5.
My concern on hearing this is if the local residents who are most concerned about this aren't really prepared and here to speak on it, either speak for it or against it. So I'd rather not.
You know?
I mean, I totally see both sides, but, I mean, if we're sticking with this site plan and they're just eliminating some things, that's one thing. But if there are changes to the site plan, that's a whole nother.
There's not.
I thought this item was being removed, so.
So what are you saying?
I feel like
we're
I feel like it's a 50-50
not
here.
duplex?
Yeah, I feel like it's a 50-50 here.
And we did share these concerns.
Wait a second, no, not, everybody don't talk all at once. Don, finish your thought.
Do we
'cause
feel
can
like
all
the
agree.
message to the public was that this was going to be, was the message sent out to the public that this was going to be postponed, or?
There was no message sent out to the public.
There wasn't. Then, so the public that's here is probably here because they assume we're hearing this
Yes.
tonight. And if all they're going to do is proffer some restrictions that are on the site
Yep.
plan that we're doing, then I'm okay hearing it.
So am I.
I'm still going to defer to staff's recommendation to postpone.
Deb?
I would prefer to take staff recommendations too, because when I found out it was going to be postponed,
Okay.
I didn't finish my review that I would have normally done.
Okay, so Ann, it's up to you.
Well, I read the whole thing, and if all they're doing is eliminating and not adding or changing anything, then I'm okay with hearing what they have to say.
Okay, so John, it's 3-2. So can we, go? Yes, Ron?
I asked Jennifer, if, as long as they withdraw the revised site plan, and you're only acting on the one that was published and on the agenda, then I think that it addresses the concerns. He's making it more restrictive, but Jennifer's recommendation was based on the fact that she believed that this was going to be a revised site plan, which probably should not be acted on. But now, assuming that is withdrawn, which I'm hearing,
Yes.
and the applicant agrees to that, and you're only acting tonight on the site plan that was submitted, then I don't see why we can't proceed from a staff standpoint. Legal, I'll let John speak to legality, but in my opinion, from a staff standpoint, as long as we're not acting on the revised plan, it would be appropriate for you to proceed.
Good. John, do you have anything to say before we?
No, I mean, just as long as there is competent, substantial evidence in the record to support whatever the decision is, we're able to, we can move forward. So that was my concern, was that if we're bringing in a new site plan, the analysis of staff was not based upon that site plan, but that changes if we're on the same one.
Okay.
We are not offering a revised site plan. That is withdrawn. We don't have it here to present, and we are not going to discuss it.
So then we start with his presentation then, correct?
Daniel.
With staff. Staff goes first.
Oh, that's
and
fine.
then-
Go ahead, Ms. Jennifer.
It's actually Daniel Parabach.
Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel.
Hold on one second. Do we have the full packet that was loaded from before on the?
I do.
With the site plan? 'Cause I don't see it.
Go ahead, Daniel.
All right, I drew the short straw on this one, so I'll keep it short and sweet. Daniel Parabach, Senior Environmental Planner. Just a quick overview of this. So Calusa SMI LLC has submitted an application for a major conditional use to allow a boat dealership as an accessory use to the existing marina located at 73501 Overseas Highway. The property is approximately 11.4 acres in size and is within the tourist commercial zoning district. The proposed development is to allow for the redevelopment of the northeastern portion of the property for a boat dealership, including sales and service as an accessory use to the existing marina. The property does not contain any mapped habitat and is considered scarified. Notable additions to the site as part of the proposed site plan include a 10-foot by 12-foot modular office, a 14-foot by 30-foot fabric shade structure. Both of these structures are located within the area of the existing area where the boats are being displayed. A 50-foot by 55-foot concrete pad adjacent to the east of the boat storage area. This pad is being proposed to facilitate an area that service can be conducted. And finally, minor renovations to the existing building adjacent to the boat storage area to provide a break room, bathroom, and storage. One of the requirements of the major conditional use is to install 2 landscape buffers. The first one is a 20-foot wide Class D buffer consisting of 39 canopy trees, 21 understory trees, and 168 shrubs, and this is being required along the east and southern property lines adjacent to Iroquois Drive. The second buffer is a 5-foot wide Class B buffer along US 1 consisting of 6 canopy trees, 2 understory trees, and 20 shrubs. The proposed site plan does not propose any access to Iroquois Drive. The only access to the boat sales, storage, and maintenance area is through the main entrance near the center of the property. The application and proposed site plan have been reviewed for all applicable criteria and found to be in compliance. Based on our review of the application and site plan, staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions listed within the staff report. And I'm happy to answer any questions on the site plan that you have before you. I also know that the applicant wishes to have a presentation.
Council, anybody have a question for Daniel? Go ahead, Steve.
Daniel, were you at the meeting that he was referring to with the other residents?
Yes, I was.
And what was your impression of their impression on any of the site plan?
No, there was great dialogue with Robert Mosier and their representing attorney. The meeting was lengthy, about an hour and a half. They went through the site plan very thoroughly. The applicant was very courteous and very amenable to the concerns of their community, and I believe they're going to proffer some changes based on that conversation.
And because I'm not as well-versed in looking at site plans as some of the others up here, the main entrance, is that basically through the, into here, though?
The main entrance is over here.
Right.
This is where
Okay. But in this area? I got it. That's all going to be one continuous. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anybody else for Daniel? No?
Nope.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
Steve, would you like, you're coming back up?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel, and thank you again for your consideration. We do have a brief presentation. It's not too long, and we'll get through it. And our team is here to answer any questions about how we got here as well, because we've been working for about 2 years on this, and we're excited to be considered for consideration tonight. So first of all, allow me to introduce our team. From Boaters World, I have Louis Alday, our CFO. Say hello, Louis. Christopher Polo, who is the owner's rep, who's been working on this for a couple of years. Lance Greiner, who's a VP of Sales and Finance. And we also have Pat Shaughnessy, the Director of Operations. Okay, so that's our team that's here. My name again is Steve Tilbrook. I'm with Ackerman Law Firm. I'm a land use lawyer representing this application. I only have been representing this for about a month or two. When it was determined that we needed a major conditional use approval and a public hearing is required, I was brought in at that point. Any of the historical questions can be represented and responded to by the team. All right, so the property owner is Calusa SMI. The address is 73501 Overseas Highway. It's a tourist commercial district, and this is a major conditional use approval. Walk through it a little bit. Let's see if I can get this to work. Oh, there we go. This is the site. Don't know if, oh boy, I messed it up. I turned it off.
You're in trouble.
There we go.
I think you got to point it at the booth behind you, Steve.
Okay. I'm not going to point a cursor, but you can see the site. You know the site well. There is a former hardware store that is now an existing Boaters World dealership operation. And that out on Overseas Highway, there's a display area that's been displaying boats for some time now. I think they had their grand opening a few months ago. One of the areas of question is at the very north end. There's a former sort of abandoned building there. It's unimproved now, and there was a question from staff. Include everything in this application that you possibly might want to do in the future. And at that time, there was consideration of doing some service in the area to the north around the abandoned building. And based upon the comments we heard from the community about noise, view, sound, we decided to not do service in that area. So that's sort of the elephant in the room. We've agreed to do that, and we think it makes it a better site plan, frankly. Okay, Boaters World is a national company. They've got dealerships in Lake Placid, Bradenton, Alameda. It's on our website. It's already opened. And Grand Prairie, Texas, and Albany, Georgia. It's a very well established and thought of marine dealership. This is a view of the dealership as it's operating. This is maybe a few months ago. This is views of the interior improvements. The interior improvements for the boat dealership were conducted according to a permit. The permit was issued, plans were submitted, and the permit's been closed out, and the facility's been occupied. In addition, so you see this has been changed in terms of the orientation, but the 4,000 square foot marine sales and dealership, and then the 4 acre outdoor display area. The outdoor display area was also permitted. It was built in accordance with the permits, and the permits have been closed out. Okay, this is the site plan. This is the site plan that staff's reviewed. This is the site plan that's for consideration tonight. It's not a very detailed site plan, but what you can see on the left-hand side is the 4,000 square foot sales area. On the top, outlined in red along Overseas Highway is the display area. There is a proposal for a small fabric shaded area in that so that sales can be conducted in the shade. The area that's highlighted in blue is the service area that was added to this application. This has been revised a couple times. At the time, the staff recommended include everything you might want to do. And so that was an area that was identified as a service area. And since then, we've heard comments, and we're going to proffer on the record to not have any service in that area. You can see a landscape buffer, but there's a landscape buffer both along Overseas Highway and the 20-foot landscape buffer all along Iroquois Drive, buffering from the neighbors, both in our lease area and for the full site. This is an update, blow-up of the area that had previously been, well, it's in our current site plan as service, and the landscape area. And these are the same landscape requirements that were read into the record by Daniel. Okay, so it's an existing zoning is tourist commercial. We're not seeking to change the zoning. We're not seeking to change the land use. And your code was revised to allow for boat dealerships as an accessory use to an existing marina. That is what's permitted, and that is approved through a major conditional use process. And that's the process that we're in now, we've been going through for several months. Major conditional review is outlined in section 30-218 of your city code. There's process criteria and public hearing requirements. Public notice was provided, both mail notice, sign notice, and we've conducted community outreach. Staff recommendations of approval are in your record. They provide in particular that the application is consistent with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan, consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan, complies with the relevant provisions of the LDRs, and compatible with the surrounding land and uses, and conditions of approval are acceptable. And what I'm representing to you is all of the conditions in your staff report are acceptable to the applicant. Since then, and that's the end of our presentation on that site plan. Since then, we've had a meeting with Robert Mosier and with staff, and we came up with six improvements. 6 improvements by deleting things or reorienting them in the application. Now, I think it might be, I shared these with the mayor this morning. We shared them with Robert Mosier and his attorney. So they have them, they're aware of them. I hope that they have accepted them and are not here to object. We know that they submitted a prior letter of objection. We were hoping they would withdraw that. They indicated that they would be willing to with these conditions. So I can read these into the record. Okay, allow me to do that. The first condition is to eliminate the proposed outdoor service use in the north section of the site, to eliminate that use completely. And number 2, to limit the use in the north section of the site to passive uses, including storage, display, and boat washing. Nothing that would generate noise or light. Number 3,
May
So-
I interrupt you just a second?
Yes.
Do you have any printed copies besides the
Yes,
one?
I do.
Besides the one that's being passed around the table?
I have extra copies.
You can keep it.
Thank you. There's probably some public. And we provided this to the city clerk electronically in paper format as well. And hey, I know it's cleaner to have all this done ahead of time. We really were rushing to get this done for the hearing tonight, and we appreciate staff's consideration and your consideration for adding these conditions to the record. What you have in front of you is an email that I sent to the mayor this at 12:26 today after we had a telephone conference call. And these are the same things I offered during the conference call, and these are the same conditions that were offered in an email to Robert Mosher. So that's, and I can read them again, continue reading. So I've read number 1, number 2. Number 3 is to eliminate the proposed 50 by 55 concrete pad and shade structure, and that was I'm going to go back to the site plan.
Point at the box. There. The guy in the booth. There you go. The guy in the booth. There you go.
There we go. I went
Guy in the
a
booth.
couple times. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go to the next one. Here, okay, here. This is the concrete pad. And we're offering, I'm motioning to the concrete pad in the service area. We're offering to remove that from the project, not to do any concrete pad, not to do any shade structure, and not to do any service in that area. The fourth item is to restore the abandoned structure in the north section, but to limit the use of the structure to parts and equipment storage. So that's the structure that you see underneath the word service. It's an existing building. We'll paint it, we'll make it look pretty, and we're only going to occupy it for storage. With regard to lighting, that's number 5, we'll limit lighting in the north section to include only low-profile lights, shielded security lighting, and to relocate the light fixtures to inside the fence and outside of the landscape buffer. So the landscape buffer is identified in green. There is a plan that shows there were light fixtures proposed within the landscape buffer. Those would be moved outside of landscape buffer, closer onto the site, low profile and shaded. And the 6th item is to maintain the existing fence and screening around the north section. I think that's assumed. There's existing fence and screening there. We just want to make it clear in the record that we're going to maintain that. Those are the 6 items. Relatively simple. We have every reason to believe that the adjacent neighborhood appreciates those items and is no longer in opposition. We don't know for sure, but that's every indication that we have through our conversations with them and their lawyer. We're here to answer any more questions. We appreciate staff's review. We've been working on this a long time. We think it's appropriate for you to vote tonight, but we're open to whatever you desire. Our goal is to get this dealership approved, and so we appreciate the opportunity to be here. We're here to answer any questions, and thank you for your consideration.
Steve, today you and I talked about the fire situation, the fire lane. And I called Terry, and he's here tonight. If, Terry, you want to address anything about that? Steve, you showed me concern about having that there, right? Or was it Robert Mosher?
I think it was Robert.
It was Robert Mosher, now that
I think
I
it was
about
the fire access.
Yes.
The fire access.
Yeah.
And he communicated that to us as well. And
Okay.
There is a fire access that is on the highway, fire-only access, and that was required by the fire department as part of our display area and service area. When we were discussing removing the service use, we asked Daniel and the staff whether or not because the community was concerned that would be used as an access point for the site. It's never intended as an access point. The only people that will have access there is the fire, and they have their only key. We offered to remove it, but staff, I think, still believes it's an appropriate and necessary fire access, but it is only for fire. That's our aspect.
And he's shaking his head, so that's a true statement, so you got it.
So
Okay.
that's.
Then you answered that in case for
that's
the
our
people
answer to that
watching
one.
who asked me. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Let me, staff, council, do you have any questions? Steve, go ahead, please.
Yeah, with one of the residents that I spoke to, one of their concerns was that the type D or Class D buffer might not be sufficient enough. Was that discussed at that meeting? Is there consideration of something that is better than Class D? I don't know what that would be, Class E, or, what that might be, a wall perhaps, and then, landscaping?
It was discussed. Well, the landscaping was discussed extensively. There was not a specific request to enhance the landscape buffer. Robert was comfortable with the buffer that was there. What they did request was that they asked about the fence and the screening on the fence. They asked whether the fence could be made higher. And the answer to that was that the fence, I believe, and I'll leave it up to Daniel to respond, the fence is limited to 6 feet in height by code. So we couldn't increase the height of the fence. So the backup to that was to make sure that the screening stays on the fence and is preserved, and that's why we proffered the fence screening.
And Steve, to answer what you just said, their concern about the buffer was when they were going to do work on that side, and now they're not going to. So I don't really see that as a problem. Because that was when they were concerned they could hear air guns and lights and stuff, and now they've agreed not to do that on that side, so that shouldn't be an issue, I wouldn't think.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Just a question for Jennifer. In the original permitting of this, was there something that was assumed maybe by Boaters World that they might have overstepped, and that's kind of why we're in this situation now with this major conditional use, or
I'm not sure what you mean. I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, I think Steve was mentioning something to me about that, where having to kind of come back and do this maybe assumed something a little bit too much.
May I? I'll just respond. Like I said, I'm only recently involved.
Wait, did you get your answer from Jennifer? Okay. I'm sorry, I thought you were asking.
I was just asking for clarification on the question. I didn't understand your question.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
My apologies. I'm sorry, Steve.
It's not confusing.
I think it was based upon a conversation that we had.
That's correct.
So allow me to just clarify that. Our client does things the right way. They go in assuming that they're going to follow a process, and they follow that process. In this case, they've been working with staff for some time. They felt that they were told to obtain certain permits and that they could operate after they obtained and built according to those permits. So they applied for permits, they built according to permits, and then my understanding, and I stand to be corrected if I'm wrong, they sought to have a grand opening and get a permit for the grand opening event, and at that point there was a revelation that there hadn't been a conditional use approval. And so there was a request to submit an application for a conditional use approval. That submission was made, and there was a suggestion that if we continued to pursue the conditional use approval, it was appropriate to operate, and we wouldn't be cited for an improper operation. I'm not trying to misrepresent anything. I think that's what my client represented to me.
Anybody else on council, or Jennifer, do you want to say something?
I didn't know if Steve wanted me to clarify that or.
No.
That was good. Thank you.
Don?
The Class D buffer is what the zoning boundary buffer that's required between residential and tourist commercial, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so they've met that standard. Thank you.
Anna, anything?
No, the only concerns that I had heard was the noise, and they're eliminating the noise, so I don't see any problems.
Deb, do you have any questions? Okay, go ahead.
For staff. So, Jennifer, when you're calculating impact fees on this affordable housing mitigation, the expansion of use, would that include where these boats are being displayed open for sales for, I know in the county it does. And I don't know if our code specific says that, but it is an expansion of use with outdoor sales in there. And I think that would fall underneath the inclusionary zoning fees.
Yeah, I'd have to reread the, we haven't done one recently, so I'd have to go back and read the code on that. I don't have an answer off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, John, so let's go ahead and start with anyone in favor?
Thank you.
Marnie, go ahead.
We have a couple of folks who did not fill out whether they support or oppose. We have one neutral and we have one opposing.
Okay, so what do we consider them then, John?
If we can ask the two who didn't fill out whether it was oppose or support, we can see where they would fall.
Okay, let's see. Actually, I'm mistaken, it was only one. So, Mr. Mosher?
Are you
No,
you in
I'm
favor
not-
or
Yeah.
opposed?
I would say we are not objecting. So, first of all,
Okay.
hi, good evening, Matthew Hutchinson.
Did you sign up to speak?
I'm here
Mr.
on
Mosher
behalf
was
with
called.
Mr. Mosher. I'm the attorney for Mr. Yeagle represents the Property Owners Association. I'm here in Mr. Yeagle's stead.
Okay, were you sworn in?
I did, yes.
Okay, so Mr. Mosher, you are not speaking. Mr. Hutchinson is speaking?
I'll be speaking on behalf of the Property Owners Association. Mr. Mosher is the president of the Property Owners
Okay,
Association.
Mr. Hutchinson, you'll need to fill out a card
Okay.
to speak. So are you both speaking or is one of you speaking or?
Just say yes.
Just
Yes.
Okay,
both fill
then
out a
what?
card. Just both.
Why don't we take Mr. Mosher first since he filled out a
Yes.
card and Mr. Hutchinson then can fill out a card and speak?
Yeah.
If it's okay with you, Mr. Quick, I prefer if Mr. Hutchinson spoke first. Can I write his name on?
No, he's doing it, I think.
Okay.
He's doing it right now.
But I am here to answer any questions.
I didn't know is there an official homeowners association in that neighborhood?
Hi, Mayor, Council, thank you. There is Lower Matacumbe Beach Property Owners Association. We were established in 1952 before Calusa was. As a matter of fact, Tract A, which includes the north section that was shown on the map, was and is part of our plat. And it was part of our plat back in 52. In 58, it was filled. The property out in front was filled to make room for the basin and the boat barn.
So it is an association, it's a true association.
A true association is what?
Do they pay dues, is it
We
required
collect
to be-
dues, we have meetings, we
You're
pay
required to be
taxes.
part of the ownership, you're required to be part of that.
You are not required. It is not what is
it's
considered
not
a...
mandatory.
It's not mandatory, but it's a legitimate homeowner association that is structured the way we're supposed to be.
Thanks, Robert.
You're welcome.
So
Thank you.
Robert, would you like to let this gentleman speak first?
Yes,
Is that okay,
please.
John? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're following our
Okay,
procedures.
the man with the cute secretary, come on up.
She's actually my boss.
There you go. You go, girl.
First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to address the council this evening. Matthew Hutchinson at Hershoff, Lapina Yeagle. Mr. Yeagle has actually done most of the work on this, but I think because it's a Thursday evening, he's asked me to be here in his stead. Everything that was represented is accurate. The Property Owners Association did initially have an objection. The applicant did address those. That has been resolved to the satisfaction of the Property Owners Association by the 6 restrictions, limitations that were proffered, and based upon that, the Property Owners Association is withdrawing their objection. And from a technical legal, I guess we would say we do not object any longer, so whether that is support or neutral, but we do not oppose.
Correct.
So.
Anybody have any questions? No?
So our only request would be just as part of your approval tonight, if that is the will of the council, just to adopt those 6 limitations, restrictions, or whatever you want to call those items that were proffered.
Of course.
In addition to what we have in our book, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Robert, you coming back up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I might have heard my name too many times for me not to speak, because that really puts the albatross around my neck. And I do have some broad shoulders and a big belly, but I believe that everyone has a right to speak, whether you're for it or against it. We have 100 owners in our subdivision. We have a strong showing in our association, but there's Tollgate Shores, there's Safety Harbor, and there's a lot of people who drive by that have other issues. First things first, we appreciate Boaters World, Mr. Ackerman, Suntex, working with us. It was a pleasure to work with them. It was easy to work with them. And there was one thing that didn't make it to the restrictions because it's a, I don't know, it's a, the right word would be, they need to get approval from Suntex to continue the Class D buffer. For some reason, it was left shy of the last 3 homes on Iroquois Drive, up to the cul-de-sac and including the previous, the home previously owned by Les Tassel that's on the property. It stops 3 or 4 houses shy. So we asked why. We didn't have an answer for it. We asked if it could be continued, and the answer was, well, that depends on Suntex. I don't know how to make that bubble up any more than that.
May I ask a question?
Yes,
related
please.
to that? If Boaters World is the one putting the buffer in, I guess I don't understand why they would have to add. I understand that they are a tenant, a renter, whatever the proper term is, but why they have to ask Suntech because you're going to have to expand the buffer.
Wait a second. Okay. You need to come as called. You need to be sworn in. We're not going out of order. We're not going with people who aren't being sworn in. Mr. Mosier's being asked a question. If there's a question that he cannot answer, then council can ask it of another witness. But we need to go in order. We need to have a clean record for this case, or this matter, sorry.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Quick. I don't have an answer to the question. I would also like to ask that question of applicant. But if we want to continue, I can continue as well.
How about if you continue and then we'll call the applicant back up?
Thank you very
Would
much.
you make a note of, we're going to call you back up? Yes. So we don't forget?
Thank you, Mr. Friedman, about bringing up that Class E buffer. But GHIJ, however far you want to go, we'd even be willing to contribute to putting in denser and higher shrubbery if possible. I'm sure that Boaters World would at least be receptive to hearing our discussion with them. We don't have a ton of money to do that, but that's how strong we feel about making that buffer zone as thick as possible. I mean, those townhomes that are there, there's 6 or 7 of them, are looking out of their dining room tables onto, you know, a storage, boat display and storage. So yes, we'd like to pursue that. There was a question that was brought up late by one of our members about the gravel being put in the north corner and whether or not that is going to contribute to any additional runoff onto Lake Iroquois, which we've noted on your wonderful app multiple times in that location. Again, I would ask that question of, I don't know who to ask the question, council to address it, but or the applicant to address it. Other than that, thank you very much for entertaining this.
Thank you. Okay, would the gentleman like to come back up to answer what Deb was asking, or John? Now I'm confused who was coming up.
Is that appropriate, John, to do that now, or? Because we may have other questions.
It actually comes up, in our code that comes up later. That would
Okay.
fall under cross-examine, so we would have the
Okay.
participants in support. And
Okay,
then, I
so-
guess if anybody's neutral, I would have them go between support and opposition.
Got it. Marnie, anybody in support? Anybody else?
No one else. Neutral, we have Mr. Jack Butler.
Jack Butler, Alamorada resident on Iroquois Drive. This is probably the most I've been in public meetings in my entire life. So
That's what I was thinking.
everything just seems to be happening in my neighborhood all of a sudden. So I put neutral for a couple of reasons. I'm not opposed to the businesses running their businesses, but I do have a couple of questions for Steve and the group over there at Colusa Cove. The first question that I have, or the concern that I have, is with that neighborhood that we live in, we've got one street light that's kind of toward the south end of the street. So it's a nice dark area to enjoy the nighttime. So my first concern is, and I know they made a concession of limit lighting on the north section, only low profile and shield security lighting, and then relocate those lights inward a little bit more. So I like that idea, I just don't know what that means. So if you're living in a condo, is that light, even though it's shielded, is it going to be at your window level that shines in all night? Is it going to shine up into the sky to block the stars, stuff like that? Or just to kind of look like it, so if I'm sitting outside, am I going to think that an alien ship is landing over there? Because right now it's actually very nice. So that would be my first question. So if they could address that, that'd be great.
I will have them address that. Go ahead.
The second thing is the boat storage. So if you're talking boat storage, is that boat storage on the ground? Or do they have the opportunity to raise that boat storage to 2 levels, 3 levels, 4 levels? Kind of like what they have across from S&D. Is it going to look like that? So that would be kind of a distraction or something that I would be opposed to. So I'd like to get that more defined as far as what they're going to put there and what they're determining or defining boat storage as. Okay, and then the third one is, and I think it's already been raised a little bit, are they going to modify that land there that has already been filled? Are they going to raise it such that if they're doing boat washing, or if we have some of the tropical storms that we've already had, is that going to cause more runoff onto the entrance to Iroquois Drive, which already floods immensely? So if we could eliminate that, and maybe if they are going to do anything, can they mitigate that and make it stay on their property? Those would be the 3 things that I would be concerned about.
Thank you, Joe.
If they can answer that.
We'll get the answers.
Thank you very much. I wanted to follow order.
Thank you. Anybody else neutral?
No, ma'am, we do have one opposed.
Okay, so now there's no more neutral, so let's go to anyone opposed.
Joe Wishmeyer.
Yes, Joe Wishmeyer, Plantation Key. Some of my questions got answered tonight, and one of them was, seeing how it's been existing for a year, I certainly hate to give people, say, oh, well, sorry you did that, but we'll give you permission now. That just gives other people the green light to go ahead and kind of break the laws we were talking about earlier. But one of my biggest concerns was, if they happen to go back to the slide with the overhead view, I noticed they didn't mention anything about other things that were on the property, like the boat storage at the barn that was there, where they store boats. You have charter boats that you saw along the road there with a little bit of parking for them. There's also the Dead Animal Bar, the Habanos Restaurant, a resort. We're dealing with another issue that comes up all the time. I didn't see anything about parking. What about on busy weekends when you have all these people come and want to use their boats and they want to take boats out of the barn? They got to park somewhere. What on the weekends when the resort's full and then the bar might be full? The charter boats, when they have full, where is all this parking going to go? So that would be my biggest concern, that I think that's why I oppose this, because we have so much concerns with parking that we're dealing with now. Let's not create another issue and then have to deal with it later and say, well, maybe we can put a parking lot somewhere to help accommodate them. So this is something we ought to deal with beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else opposed, Marnie?
I have no one else opposed. I do have 2 folks who are on Zoom, and I just want to make sure that we address that they are not permitted to speak.
They're not allowed. Yeah, they have to be here, correct? Okay, sorry. Okay, so then public comment is closed. correct, John? And now we move to cross-examination or answer questions, maybe?
Yeah, council can ask questions of staff, applicants, or the
Well,
participants.
I'd like to start with Steve with the questions that Jack had, and I'm sure you were paying attention to them.
I was just making notes, so I
I
didn't miss
figured.
any. I hope I got them, because I've been talking to different people. We'll do our best to address those. I'm not sure if this is really rebuttal, or we're just answering further questions. I would like to reserve like a minute for rebuttal, if possible.
Yeah, at the end, there is a time for staff to have final argument and the applicant have final argument thereafter.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I'll take one by one. The question about light orientation. We didn't have a specific lighting plan as part of this plan. The site plan itself references a lighting plan that will be permitted separately according to photometrics plan approved by the staff, okay? What we offered to do was further restrict the lighting as part of the conditions. And those restrictions were to relocate light. In the package, you can see there's lighting symbols that are inside the landscape area. That was a mistake. We want to make sure that it's clear that the lighting will not be in the landscape area. It'll be further onto our site. We're offering, in addition to the photometric study, that they be low-profile lights and that they be oriented away from the residents, away from the homes. And I think there are light fixtures that can do that. They're not just broad light fixtures that shine everywhere. They're directional light fixtures. Our goal with the lighting is to have just enough lighting so that if there is a security problem in the area, that our cameras can pick up the security problem. That's our goal. It's not to display at night. It's simply to enable our security apparatus to work. So that's the lighting question. The landscape buffer. Landscape buffer is a little bit of a tough one for us, and I'll tell you why. We only lease part of the property, the part of the property where we're actually operating. There's a lot of landscape buffer that is outside of the area that we're leasing. And so what Suntex has offered to do is they've offered to pay for that buffer that is outside of our lease area, right, that goes along Iroquois Drive. And, you know, there is a gap there. I'm not sure why there's a gap between the cul-de-sac and the end of the landscape buffer. That was not intentional. It was brought up by Mr. Mosier, and we were honest in our responses. We don't know. We would seek to have Suntex respond. Suntex response is they would like to see this project approved. If the commission, the council, requires that additional landscaping as a condition of approval, they will do it. But it's not on the plan now. That would be something that you would have to require as a condition of approval.
I think it's right here.
Okay, that's that one.
What, the storage height, can you address that? The boat storage height that
The
Jack
height
was-
of the vessels on trailers?
Correct, like
The
a rack system.
The rack system, are you guys going to have that?
There is no rack system.
Oh, well, there's your answer, Jack. Okay, he's good with that.
There is, the boats are stored on trailers at the site, in the dealership display area.
In the runoff situation, that,
Runoff will be accommodated on site. That's a requirement of the permitting process, the county stormwater management permitting process. So we will be obtaining that permit and managing water on site.
are we good, Jack?
If that all goes through, yes.
Okay, okay. Is there, anybody else have a question? Go ahead.
Is there a copy that we can pull up of the property appraiser's map up there? Jennifer, do you have one that may be part of the? I know it's part of your package and it highlights property ownership, and I wanted to talk about that if we could.
Do you want to let Deb ask? No,
I have a quick question for,
Okay, go ahead.
for Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
About the lighting, I know that area is like very sensitive turtle nesting area. You have a bunch of alternate red or orange lighting down in that area. Is that something that is necessarily required? Is that something that they could do with some of that lighting?
Yes, there is lighting requirements. Our normal lighting requirements, non-Turtle Beach, they still have to be shielded. They can't light pollute. We need to check the photometrics. So that's all required separate from turtle. And then, so the turtle requirements come in if the light source is visible from the beach at a sea turtle level. So you got to go on the ground and crawl. I'm not sure without doing a on-ground survey if the lighting they're proposing in the area can be visible from the beach. As part of their permitting process to build, that's something that I'll have to take a look at. And if it is visible from the beach, then they have to abide by the entire sea turtle lighting code, which is, red, amber, in season, and you cannot see the source.
All right, excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
Deb, do you want to ask your question? while
Sure, I
Jennifer-
think it's probably his
The lawyer?
question too. It's about additional parking or parking on the site.
Oh, he's back.
Daniel, is that you? About parking?
Yes, so
So
this,
they talked about
I had that.
possibly a needed I see parking spaces, but I don't know whether we
Right, so.
address the parking.
So the application, when we look at this, we don't look at only the area they're leasing, because the village code doesn't look at lease lines, we look at property lines. So the entire site was analyzed as a whole for parking. Each use, the dead animal bar, the Habanos, the boat, everything was analyzed for parking. They had to add a few spots and move some stuff around with ADA, but the parking is compliant with each use and requirement.
So it was looked at?
Yes,
and-
ma'am.
And they did add a couple spaces
Yes, ma'am.
and/or handicap as needed? Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we ready, Jennifer, to do Don's question?
I've emailed it to Frank. I think he's working on it right now.
Okay, so a question for the attorney. Can we go ahead and, since they're so willing to pay for extra buffers, can we go ahead and put that in there as well?
I leave that up to you.
If it's something they're proffering and offering, we could accept
Well,
it.
that's why I want to pull up
I
this
can, we
property.
can,
pre-
oh, you want to pull that up?
That's what it's about.
It's related.
Oh, sure, right on my parade. Okay.
I just also, I don't know if I was working on that, so I don't know if Daniel addressed the stormwater question. Did Daniel address the stormwater question? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Did he? Okay. He said yes.
So I'll elaborate on that or ask that question accordingly, is somebody talked about the gravel runoff, and then we talked about the raised land, and I made the assumption, right or wrong, look at him. I made the assumption that that was the same issue, is the gravel runoff and the raised land drainage. Is that?
Right, so as part of this proposed plan, there's no fill proposed, and the gravel is pervious. So that didn't increase any of the impervious area. The concrete pad required stormwater, but it
Right.
sounds like they're going to proffer to remove that, so they won't need to do any additional stormwater.
That all come with the actual permits?
Yes,
right?
they will need a stormwater plan,
Right.
and it will be reviewed by our engineer.
Okay. Okay. Did you find your page?
So the leased area is everything exclusive of this, right? So your leased area actually does come down
No.
past the cul-de-sac?
No, it does not.
It
No,
does not?
our lease area is only along the overseas highway. See that, just that section, and down to, not that far. Just where our current, I think it might be better may I go back to the site plan?
Sure.
Yeah, may I go back to the site plan? I can show you on the site plan. It's basically extending the line of our site plan.
It's good exercise for him.
Yeah.
Frank's back there scrambling.
We're
Thank
there.
you, Frank.
We're there.
I know we're driving you crazy.
Looks like it's up on that screen. There we
There it
go.
is.
I'm going to go back one.
There you go. Oh, got the hang of it.
So the red box is our lease area. It does, and then the green box also includes our lease area. But that is the extent of our lease area. The red box and the green box along, there's a hash thing that might, that's not part of our lease area. It's really the shaded green area and the red boxed area. The red boxed area is where we currently have our display.
So you say that you're stopping here?
Yes, that is the limit of our work in our lease area, correct. But the landscape buffer extends down beyond it.
So Don, do you have a question? I want the extra landscape.
I
It'll
think it's
make
a-
them happy, I
it's-
want the extra
It's really
landscape.
above and beyond. Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else have anything?
And,
Yep.
yeah, and the area that it did not get extended is maybe Robert's Corner, but of
It's
the
not.
buffer, is that down here or up there?
No, it's down
where your finger
there.
is.
That's
That
it,
would be
yeah.
the areas Robert was talking about.
Yeah.
But that's not even part of their leased area, so.
But they'll
It's not
fix it,
their
though.
leased area, but they could ask the bar.
They said they'd fix it, though.
They said that the,
Yeah, I heard.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay, John, we've done opposing, for, and neutral,
And against.
and against.
So it would be, we would conclude the testimony portion, and now we have the availability for final argument from staff would go first, and then final argument from the applicant. would
And
go
I
after.
have somebody raising their hand. Is he allowed to go back up again, or?
His time to speak, unless you all have a question for him, his time to speak has passed.
Okay, okay. So let's move on then to the rebuttal, I guess, or the staff.
To the final
Yeah,
argument.
To the
yeah.
final
I
argument.
might have a question for Robert.
Oh,
Robert, what is your question?
It's for staff or for the applicant, and it was brought by one of the Zoom callers, and it's pretty pertinent.
This is absolutely inappropriate, Madam
called
Mayor,
him
but
up.
to have a request from a Zoom caller.
Oh, okay.
When
Mr.
when the
Quick, I
time
did-
has closed, that the applicant, participants are allowed to ask staff, are allowed to ask for counsel to ask questions, but that time has passed. We are beyond that. And we are now having a Zoom caller seeking to circumvent our rules to
Okay.
come in.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'll
No,
withdraw my.
please, I agree. And I just want to explain to Mr. Quick, that was me trying to get points with the caller. I have the same concern. You know, it's simply about hurricane evacuation, and that's my desire to make certain that this is taken care of, not the Zoom caller.
Okay.
So I apologize.
all right, thank you very much, and Deb, no worries, you didn't do it on purpose. Okay, let's move on to the staff.
Based on the conversations tonight, I believe that staff can still recommend approval based on the conditions that were discussed. We will handle the technical permitting documents and designs at the time of permitting, and I think at this time, staff still recommends approval.
Thank you. Anything from anyone else?
I just
Go ahead, Jennifer.
would say that a new site plan would be required based on these conditions because there are removing items that are on the site plan.
He's
as-
shaking his head yes.
As proposed, which was my concern at the beginning. I just want to note that for the record.
Okay.
Will you repeat that again? So you're going to need a new site plan?
Yes,
And so
ma'am.
we're approving off of an old site plan?
Yes, ma'am.
So what
That's
is,
not cool with that.
so John, what does that mean?
It would mean that if there's an approval if the approval is an approval of the site plan with the proffered conditions that were provided today, it would mean that the applicant would need to have to come back in with a new site plan that is consistent with these conditions.
Got it.
And it would have to meet those conditions, and the planning director and staff would need to ensure that it met those conditions. If it did not, then it would get rejected.
Okay.
If there was a dispute, then I assume it would come back to council.
Steve, you understand what you need to do? Okay, okay. All right, so Deb, any other comment?
Only if I understand this correct, is if we approve this and they need a new site plan and they do not provide adequate, or you find new deficiencies because of that, what we're doing tonight does not supersede that.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? No? No? All right. Steve, you have anything else you want to add before we?
If we're in rebuttal?
Yes, the applicant is
Yep,
allowed to.
yeah, he's-
And then that will conclude that.
I'll be very brief. First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your consideration of hearing the item tonight. Thank you to the community for your comments and for being open to this new business in town and our ability to make these changes and be a good neighbor for the business community, for the city community. That's what we want to do. We will submit a revised site plan that includes these conditions to staff's review, and we won't be seeking any permit until we get approval of that revised site plan. I think you'll agree that all of the evidence in the record tonight, including the staff report, supports the approval of this conditional use approval, and therefore we recommend that you approve tonight. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you very much. Okay, Council, anyone have anything? Anybody?
I can move to approve as proffered, subject to the revised site plan being approved by the planning director.
Plus the extra barrier that he agreed on, the 6 conditions.
Those
and
items
yeah,
that were proffered,
and plus the extra hedge now.
So the motion is moved to.
He proffered that.
Yeah, so I want to make sure it's in the record.
So the motion is to approve the site plan as presented with the 6 conditions that were in the email handed out by Mr. Tilbrook that was in an email dated June 12th, 2025 at 12:26 p.m. plus an extra buffer that was proffered by the applicant.
Yes, that's correct. That's exactly. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Okay, Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney?
Yes.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming down here. Appreciate it. Okay.
And Madam Mayor and Council, the reason why I was trying to be so strict in the discussion is if this is challenged, we do have to have a record as clean as possible. So.
You're just mean. You're a meanie.
I know,
John,
I'm testy today.
You just keep us straight.
Keep us in line.
You did good. Okay, John, ready to move into the second one?
Yep, tab B is an ordinance of Islamorada Village of Islands, Florida, considering the request of Winley Key Isles LLC to amend the village's future land use map from residential medium to mixed use for the subject property located on Winley Key with real estate number 00405-360-0000000 as legally described herein, and to allow the parcel to be included in policy 1-2.11.4 Winley Key Mixed Area 2, providing for the transmittal of this ordinance to the State Department of Commerce and providing for an effective date upon the approval of this ordinance by the State Department of Commerce. This is an ordinance on second reading. Before we begin, Council, if you would please disclose any ex parte communications you may have had. And again, this is on tab B. Please include whether the person represented any group or entity, as well as the subject matter as you best recall.
Deb?
I sat on LPA when this first came forward, so I had conversations with multiple people at the time. I can't come up with names, but it was in relationship to LPA, so I'm sure that's on record. And after that, I have talked with Jocelyn, that was the owner at the time, but it wasn't about approving or disapproving. It was, you got the job done finally. So that's it.
Don?
Although I'm not required to avoid any appearance of impropriety, I'm going to recuse myself because I did work on this application many mango seasons ago.
Thank you very much. Steve?
None.
Anna?
I've only spoken to Jocelyn, but nothing to do with this particular spot.
And I spoke to Jocelyn the first time around, not since the first vote, so, okay. Jennifer?
Great, thank you, Council. Jennifer DeBoer, Planning Director. As you may recall, this item was before you on second reading on your April 10th meeting, and it was approved unanimously at that time. Since that time, it was discovered that there was an error in the title and the advertising for that. So in an abundance of caution, we're bringing it back for second reading with the corrected title as advertised. So there's no new information, there's no change. It's just a rehearing, a new quasi-judicial, so that we correct the record with the correct title. I'm happy to go through the whole presentation if you'd like, but it's pretty much a procedural matter at this point.
Okay, anybody have any questions for her before?
I guess she doesn't want to stay till 11:30 like the other
come
night.
on.
Nope, motion to approve.
If you said that, I'll second.
Okay.
Can we do this quick?
I mean, you can have the motion in the second, that's been done, but we
have
still have
open
to
up
go
public
through
comment.
the
That's
process.
right. Okay. Marnie, anybody in favor?
No, ma'am.
Anybody neutral?
No, ma'am.
Anybody opposed?
Yes. Joe Wishmeyer.
I am so surprised.
Yeah, it's kind of an oddity.
We're going to call you No Joe.
No, you can just call me Van Wishmeyer.
There you go.
Except I missed my seat
I
tonight.
wouldn't do that to you.
I'm going to make this quick, seeing as how it's been through so many times already. I just want to express my concern again. When they built the property, they knew what the zoning was. They built the houses. There's no doubt they were beautiful houses. They should have been content with that. Now they want to do vacation rentals. How many times have we heard complaints about vacation rentals? And how many times have we tried to control vacation rentals? So here we are going to add another vacation rental. Everything else speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, Marnie, no one else?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so that's closed. Council? Oh, already? Oh,
Yeah,
that totally zipped
Yeah,
right by
motion on the
me.
table, but if you can still you can still discuss, even though there's a motion on the table, but if you have nothing to discuss, there's a motion on the table.
No. Marnie, call the roll, please.
Okay, just to confirm, that was initiated by Councilmember Richards and seconded by Councilmember Gillis.
See, she's lost too, so go ahead.
Okay, Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton? Oh, excuse me, you're abstaining. Thank you. And Mayor Sharon Mahoney?
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0.
Okay. John, moving on to C.
Tab C is an ordinance of Isla Mirada Village, Violence, Florida, amending policy 3-2.1.2, specific standards and requirements for workforce affordable housing, provided for the transmittal of this ordinance to the State Department of Commerce, providing for severability and providing for an effective date upon approval of this ordinance by the State Department of Commerce. And again, Council, if you can disclose any ex parte communications you may have had with any group or entity, as well as the subject matter as you best recall.
Deb?
Do you want to? Oh, actually,
I'm sorry.
Jennifer reminded me that C and D are companion. One has to do with the comp plan, the
Let's
other
do
one.
them separately so we can stay.
So let me read D. If I mean, I can order
Go,
pizza if
go,
you want to
go,
stay. So,
It'd
tab
be better
D,
to order beer.
Yeah. Tab D is an ordinance of Isla Mirada Village of Islands, Florida, amending Village Code Section 30-476, building permit allocation, evaluation criteria and award, providing for the transmittal of this ordinance to the State Department of Commerce, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date upon approval of this ordinance by the State Department of Commerce.
Okay, Jennifer?
Now, ex parte disclosures.
Oh,
Sorry,
well, see,
I know I screwed it
thank
up.
God it's your fault.
I screwed it up,
Deb?
I know.
And this is only ex parte on the first tab, correct?
On both.
It would be
Or
on both.
Can we do both of them at the same
Yeah.
time?
We
Okay.
vote separately, but we can do
If
this.
they
My
were-
people are the same anyway. I think I spoke with Ty Harris about this, and I think I spoke with Cheryl Culberson about this.
Don?
It's been a while.
I got to tell you, I've been an advocate for this change for quite some time, and I really have spoken to a lot of people about this, but in particular, I've spoken to Ty. But I think probably going back 3 planning directors, since the village code changes, I've been wanting to get this changed. So the state code, but. So I really, other than Ty, I can't recall because it's been numerous.
It would be in your capacity as a council member for ex parte.
I would say Ty.
Steve?
None that I know of.
Anna?
I would say Ty, but I don't even really know because we talk flood zones so much that I don't know.
Okay, well, for me, it's just Ty, so, okay? He's a busy man. He's a busy man. He is. Okay.
Thank you, Council. Again, Jennifer DeBobrian, Planning Director. I'm here this evening on tabs C and D. As you may recall, the village has early evacuation affordable housing allocations. We have adopted standards for the construction of those affordable early evacuation allocations. One of those criteria is that they, and I quote, shall not be placed in a V zone or within the coastal barrier resource system. However, here in the state of Florida, we have very strict standards for the construction of buildings within flood zones. Locally, we also have floodplain management standards in our local code. So it seems redundant to not allow affordable housing to be constructed where other homes would be allowed to be constructed in those places. We don't restrict market rate homes. We don't restrict other kinds of development in V zones. So we have a project that is ready to go and wants to move forward for affordable housing within the village, but this is preventing them to do that. So they've requested that staff look at this and provide this change. So we've done that. I've talked to Sheila Denoncourt, who's our chief building official and floodplain manager, and she is also supportive of this change. And so we would recommend at this time that the council approve this one line item change.
Okay. All righty, I'm going to go ahead and open up all in favor, and then we can have a discussion if you want.
Sure.
So Marnie?
Yes, kind of hard to read the name for me. Michael.
The crowd has dwindled,
Michael
so there's
Hooley.
only a few people. There's only 5 people left, so I'm guessing it's him.
Hi, everybody. I get to go before you, Ty. This is fantastic. I like this. My name is Michael Hooley, and I'm the property owner of the subject property here. And this is my partner, Al Fernandez. He's a partner of mine in the property. And the reason that we're here is we're not just coming down here to try and build something. We're actually homeowners in Islamorada. I have a house at 75.8. Al has not one home, he has 2 homes right next to Tollgate Shores, next to the previous applicant's property. I told him to shut his mouth, just let it go. But Jennifer had a big smile a couple seconds ago. She looked over at me because we've been working on this on a long time, a very long time. So the first planning and zoning director of this project was Ty Harris. I worked with Ty Harris. Then Hank Flores. I think Sheila had a stint in there. Maybe Sheila was in there for a little bit. Then Dan Galizio, and then thank goodness Jennifer came along and she's helping push this through. But I think the boat thing might have been a little controversial. This should be a complete no-brainer for us. I've had a house down here for 20 years. I've gotten to know the residents down here and the people that operate and service our community. And it's crazy how few people that work in our community live in our community. I guess I wish the freebie people hung around for a couple minutes and chatted, because it sounds like you guys got hundreds of emails about the freebie. 200, Vice Mayor says. I mean, it just speaks to the lack of affordable options in our community. I'm very excited about this project. We have everything done for the site plan approval except for this element. We certainly do appreciate your support. If you have any questions for me later, but I'll let Ty take over from here. But thank you very much, and look forward to telling you about our property.
Thank you. Marnie, anybody else in favor?
Just Ty has signed up.
Just Ty. Just Ty.
But we do have one opposed.
Joe, go ahead.
Thank you. Ty Harris with the law firm of Ty Harris, PA, Plantation Key. So this is my 4th year working on this project. Yeah, it is just, and it's nobody's fault. We had multiple staff changes, but it would have been great to go right after freebie, because we talk about it all the time, an affordability issue. The first person that testified in the discussion on freebie said, all my money's going basically to housing. That's why I can't afford a car or a way to get around. And that was a theme that was echoed through all those conversations. So this is a significant project, 42 units, mostly 1 bedroom, which is what we need. In Winley Key, which is where we need them. That's a perfect spot. It's just south, you're familiar with the property, just south of Fisher Inn. That vacant lot that everybody keeps wondering what's happening, this is what's happening. And unlike a lot of other affordable projects that are conversions of something that's been there and has some years on it, this is new construction. Brand new construction. It's got to meet, as you heard, the FEMA guidelines. What's real interesting is that if there were any other affordable allocations left in the village, if we hadn't used the paltry sum that we had, if we were able to pull from that, this project would already be under construction, because those affordable units were not subject to the V zone. It was just the ones that came in the way the ordinance was structured for the 300 early outs. And there's a long story in history about that, but we don't really need to hash it out. But LPA recommended approval of this change. Again, this is the last thing we need to do to get this project moving, and we'd appreciate your support of the change. Thank you.
Thank you very
Madam Mayor?
much. Marnie, anybody else in favor?
No one else in favor? Mr.
Any
Wishmeyer
neutral?
is opposed.
No, we have to ask neutral now. Any neutrals?
We do not have any
Okay.
neutral.
Joe, come on up.
Sharon?
Yes,
can I-
sir.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
What we're approving tonight is not that development.
Right.
We're approving a code change that
To
would
the
help this
zone.
development.
Right. Yes.
But we're basing our decision today off of this code change.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct, Jennifer? Okay, just making sure. Go ahead, Mr. Wishmeyer.
Well, again, I was hoping to speak to C and D separately, but it appears to me that everybody's making a thing here about the V-zone. If you look through there, it also removes all the restrictions concerning TDRs. This, again, is the responsibility of Able City East, not this council. For example, how can removing the transfer of development rights between parcels with compatible habitats and/or habitat areas be in the best interest and welfare of the residents as stated on page 2 of this? It states on page 2 under whereas, the council finds this to be true. What about the environment and the green space? Some of you campaigned for that before the last election. On page 6, policy states 1-31.3 that you will institute a program for TDRs, protect the environmental resources. By ordinance approving this, you will completely remove Chapter 1, which is future land use element, Section 1.1, which is future land use goals, objectives, and implementing policies. Worst of all, removing policy stating to institute a program for the transfer of development rights. When originally drafted, this took many people years and years to complete. Now with a quick vote of council, you will make this whole plan null and void. Leave this up to the professionals to draft, and then you can vote on it. I remind you once again about whereas states the village council finds this ordinance to be okay. In other words, you take, and you can do anything you want with habitated property. So I think that is not good. As far as the V-zone, all I can say about that is we remember what happened. There's a big difference between a development and market rate housing. Let's not remember, we don't use the H word here, but let's remember what happened in the last storm. Remember what happened to, how about the Islander, Chica, Island Grill, Snappers, Whale Harbor, Holiday Isle. Sorry, it'll always be Holiday Isle to me. Just to name a few. So if we start now encouraging people to start building in more V-zone, flood zone, we're just going to be asking for more and more problems to come up in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else, Marnie?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I just want to, I apologize. When Mr. Wishmeyer was reading, I was looking back. The first 4 pages behind your resolution were put there an error that is not. We'll clean it up for second reading. The before amendment and after amendment starts on page 5. So I apologize for that error. We'll clean it up for second reading. We're not removing the entire first section of the comp plan.
Got it. Got it. Council, any discussion?
What does that mean? Does that mean it's not going to be in the ordinance?
It means at second reading, which is required before passing, it won't be included in there. It wasn't included in there as a Scribner's error and won't be included after.
Okay.
So when it comes back in July, you won't see that, Council.
Okay. Council, any discussion before we, Deb?
So, how many other V-zones might this affect? That's more of a curiosity question than...
So what you're voting on tonight is strictly for the early evacuation.
Right.
The other one that is going to come before you probably in July is the TDR ordinance has the same similar language, and we're bringing a couple of changes to the TDR ordinance, and that is one of them in July to remove it. That's the only other place that I know that it exists in our LDRs.
Okay, but that wasn't my question.
Oh,
that's a good answer, but that's not my question.
Okay.
That's good to know, too.
Okay.
My question was how many properties?
Oh, how many properties?
About.
We didn't
handful?
do that research, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't
Do we
think
have a
there's
lot of these? We don't have a lot of
I don't
these,
believe
so
that we
I don't
do.
think we do, Deb.
I don't either.
Five,
That's non-developed.
That would qualify for the early evacuation.
Okay. Then I was, when Mr. Wishmeyer was commenting on the removing the restrictions, first of all, Able City is doing as we go along, they're updating what we're approving, because that is what we're headed towards. They aren't they'll make suggestions, but we, the community, makes the final decisions. There was a lot of pages that looked like things are crossed out. It'd be nice to have a clean copy. Thank you.
Okay, Don?
Deb, just to clarify that there was a change in the Florida Building Code that required all structures to be built
Yes.
at least a foot above the base flood elevation. So automatically, these V-zone houses, if they're in a VE12, they have to just automatically go to 13. So there was really no reason in putting another restriction on. And when that code changed in the Florida Building Code is when I started advocating for us to start changing our code. So this has been a long time coming.
And I did understand that the code changed, and that's why we were really doing this, is because there's no sense in doing it. I was just curious how many V-zones there might be.
There's a lot.
Are there a lot?
Of V-zones?
There's quite a...
If we're saying V-zones, there's V-zones
No,
everywhere.
vacant, but she's talking about vacant
I know, but
pieces
she
of
just said
property.
how many V-zones there really are. And I'm
Oh,
like,
I would
there's a
took
lot.
it as
Well,
yeah.
yeah, but I meant that this might apply.
I think as it relates to
In
buildable
V-zone,
lots.
in V-zone, when you're building to the 1 foot of the design flood, you have to go to the bottom of the low beam.
Right.
It's not the floor.
It's the bottom of the structure now.
Okay, that's all good information. That's not what I was looking for, but that's all good information.
You're looking for an actual number of
You're looking for an
buildable
actual
I
lots.
was trying to figure out if we're
I
talking
can-
one lot
I
or we're
can,
talking
before second reading,
10 lots.
I can try to get that information
And-
for you for second
and
reading.
it's actually irrelevant for the reason, it was more of a curiosity question. It's irrelevant for the reason that Dawn says that this should have been done probably a long time ago, because building code says we gotta move it up anyway.
Right.
So, it was just a curiosity question.
Okay. Steve,
right.
do you have a curiosity question? I do not. Anna?
I do not.
Come on, Anna, do you have a curiosity question?
I have no questions. I understand it.
Did you say move to approve?
I said motion to approve.
And I
wait,
seconded.
we got to do them one at a time. Correct?
Correct, yes, so if you just separate them
See?
by tabs.
Pretty good, huh?
I'll have-
Okay, we're
I
going.
can have C, you can have D.
Okay.
Okay, wait, let's deal with C first.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, Marty, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
All right, now we'll go
Now we're
to
on to
D.
D. I move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Miss Marnie, when you're ready.
Okay. Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, anything else? Anybody? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.
No, it's not.